a resource fair for those impacted Saturday at the Boys and Girls Club in Sherman Park. It's meant to be a one-stop shop where people can receive assistance and learn about what's available to help plan the next steps in their recovery.
Whenever somebody has a disaster, a local community, there are so many people that suffer. And when you see the look of desperation change to that of hope with some little something that you're able to offer, it makes all the difference in the world.
It does make a difference, and this was really important too. Mental health services and spiritual care were also made available. This was the third such fair held this week. The Red Cross plans to host another resource center at the Waukesha County Expo Center on Thursday from 1 to 6. And we're still, of course, waiting to learn whether federal financial help could be coming for residents impacted by the flood. Back on August 27th, Governor Tony Evers requested President Trump declare a major disaster. Now, based on FEMA surveys, there was tens of millions of dollars in damage done to homes and public property in the Milwaukee metro. So still waiting to hear back on that. We can just hope and pray that it's just some extra help for everybody dealing with the aftermath.
Especially since some people didn't have insurance or their insurance may not cover some of the flooding impacts. So we're keeping our fingers crossed there. Well, flooding here and flooding elsewhere, we are traveling down to Charleston, which they are dealing with flooding from Sunday. As part of the city, you can see here, is underwater. Now, the area got hit hard with flash flooding this past weekend, and some streets were filled up with 10 inches of water. Police did have to close over a dozen roads. The flood warning ended around 7 o'clock last night, and the same streets also flooded just a few weeks ago. So it's just an unfortunate event. We have been dealing with a lot of flooding really across the country this past year, and especially when you see these areas get hit again and again and again, they just have a real rough time to recover. So again, we are keeping an eye out for areas on the East Coast as well as here to hopefully get some assistance as they're trying to take a step forward.
Yeah, Charleston's such a historic area too, beautiful area, and well traveled too. So it's always an extra, anxiety when it's a travel destination.
I know.
Everybody, locals and those who are not local, dealing with all those. Okay, well, moving on. So heavy sheets of, or severe storms, I should say, rolled through New Jersey this past Saturday. Heavy sheets of rain led to flooded streets, rainwater pooling over gutters. Again, we talked about how it's in so many spots right now, and clearly flooded grounds. Now, storms eventually went through New York City, bringing more heavy rain and strong winds. Several inches of accumulating rainfall stretched all the way up to New Hampshire.
Yeah, so this really was a heavy hitting system impacting the East Coast. I mean, you can just see those waves of rain.
And how strong the wind probably was too.
That's how you know, yes, the winds are very strong. And going to another area where strong winds impacted an airport. These are images from the City of Denton's fire department. It shows planes flipped over due to severe thunderstorm winds on Friday evening. Several airplanes and even a hangar were damaged by strong wind gusts that tore through Denton Enterprise Airport in Denton, Texas. Now, peak gusts at the airport hit 75 miles an hour. And thankfully, no one at the airport was injured, especially being in those planes. Storms continue to cause significant damage as they move northeast. Photos from Gunter, Texas showed extreme damage to a barn. And Gunter Volunteer Fire and Rescue said it had to be they've been working tirelessly since the storms came in on Friday evening. And they also responded to downed trees and power lines as well as some barn collapses. The fire rescue said even some animals here, unfortunately, were killed aimed for one of the barns that collapsed. And they didn't provide any further details, but at least we know that no humans were injured. The fire rescue team said. So, man, we're dealing with impacts, whether it's from the winds, the rain. It's just been quite a scene from south to the East Coast. But Steph, we've been talking, it's just been so calm here recently. And, you know, knock on wood, I got to find somewhere down here that we can continue to keep this calm weather. But changes are on the way.
Yeah, and more so in the temperature department. So I think one of our biggest factors in our forecast here locally has been our cooler than average air. And Now we're going to warm up this week, so we have a change on the horizon. Only some slight chances for rain in the next couple of days. It doesn't look great here locally, but surrounding us, there could still be a couple of different storm systems that bring some heavy rain to the U.S. You can see that storm system down towards the south, still bringing showers and thunderstorms to parts of Florida. You can see that extending through the Gulf Coast as well. And then up towards the northwest of us, there is a warm front across parts of Minnesota and the Dakotas. There's an area of rain near Wichita, Kansas. And then we, of course, here locally have that high pressure system that's still keeping us dry. But this warm front, even though it's going to lift northward, will be enough to still climb temperatures, or warm temperatures, I should say, in the next couple of days. We could potentially end the week here in Milwaukee, at least around 80 degrees. So it just goes to show how different temperatures will be this week as compared to what we've had last week and even prior to that. Not much of a severe threat today. Now, where that warm front is located, there could be a few storms in Minnesota, just a marginal risk there, and even down towards the southwest and parts of the Great Plains, you can see marginal, slight risk for, the panhandle of Oklahoma, northern Texas, a very small area that could see some stronger thunderstorms, looking pretty isolated at this point. And then same with heavy rainfall. I feel like this is probably the first time in a while where we haven't been talking about extreme flooding potential in many spots, but you can tell that there are still at least some rain chances across parts of the United States. Now, zooming into Wisconsin, it's gorgeous here. It's absolutely beautiful and so quiet. We just have a few clouds making their way through western parts of our state. So some scattered cloud cover in eastern Wisconsin this afternoon, especially once we see more of that daytime heating. Otherwise, really no problems. Now, a disturbance could bring in some sprinkles or a light rain shower later tomorrow night, but for today, you can see we're looking great. Now, the UP and then over to northern Minnesota, those are the areas that could start to see some showers and storms later on today, as well as into the overnight. And even Tuesday morning, some scattered activity will likely still be north of us, and that will bring in a few more clouds. So more of a partly sunny sky for southern Wisconsin tomorrow. I think this is overdoing it a little bit, but just the slight chance for a couple of showers or I should say sprinkles or a light rain shower later Tuesday evening. Could see a few lingering into Wednesday morning, and then we are back to sunshine the rest of Wednesday. So don't rely on this rain. It's not looking terribly great for those of us here in southern Wisconsin. If you're still tending to your garden or trying to keep those flowers alive for a little bit longer, you're still going to need to water a little bit. The rest of the week looks great. I think Saturday to start the weekend brings in a better chance for some showers and some thunderstorms. So that's what we'll more so be looking ahead to for a better chance for some rain in at least southern Wisconsin. High temperatures today, still in the 60s up north, but down towards the south. This is a big change even compared to yesterday. Milwaukee hit 67 yesterday, so today to be in the 70s, that's a great temperature, but also still below average. Notice out west, though, warmer temperatures. And then as I brought in the view, highs today, look at the Dakotas, upper 80s potentially in some communities, same with down towards the south. So we know there's some heat out there. And although it's moving in our direction, we're not going to reach upper 80s anytime soon, but we could potentially Friday end the week around 80. And just these numbers in general, finally near or just above the average mark. And this is pretty incredible to talk about. So yesterday, so not even including today, yesterday was our 20th at or cooler than average day in a row. And that started back on August 19th, longest stretch of the year and for quite some time of below average temperatures. And of that, we only saw one 80-degree day. Everything else was 70s as well as 60s. And even our low temperatures were well below average too. So pretty incredible stats there, because most of the time here locally, or at least as of the last couple of years, we've had warmer than average months. Now, we do have some warmer than average air heading into the next couple of weeks. So the Climate Prediction Center is still honing in on, at least this week and next week, some 70s in the forecast. Average by this time, which is September 15th to the 21st, averages in the low 70s. So we're not talking, a string of extreme heat or anything like that, but at least closer to our climatological temperature.
There we go. It'll be nice to have that, because it was so chilly heading into the start of September. And some people loved it, and I still have people who are telling me, bring back the warm. So bringing back just some of the normal, more seasonable temperatures, and maybe even a little warmer couple days, I think that's going to be good. We could absorb the warmth before we start to head into the cooler months. Yeah. Well, some areas that are going to be impacted a little bit further away from our area, it's Hawaii. We are talking about Hurricane Kiko that's heading towards Hawaii this week. Kiko strengthened into a Category 4 storm on Friday, causing Hawaii's governor to declare a state of emergency. Then it was downgraded to a Cat 3 over the weekend, and recently is now a Cat 2 from what I last looked at. That's what it's still at during your show, right? Do we know?
I saw Cat 1.
Okay, so maybe it downgraded now to a Cat 1. We'll check out in a minute. Hawaii is preparing for the impacts. We noticed the airport is definitely not as strong in terms of people coming in, but as we look at our graphics, what we are continuing to watch right now is the hurricane itself, which has lost that deformation, that the eye where we could see it clearly. It's now not as clear. Okay, there we go. So Steph is looking up right now that it is now a Category 1 hurricane, with which in the past hour and a half it was a Cat 2. So what is happening is Kiko is actually moving into slightly cooler waters as it's progressing further off to the northwest. That's where we're continuing to track. Again, it weakening, but even though it's not technically going directly over Hawaii, it's going to do several things. And one of the biggest impacts with this is it's looking to bring life-threatening rip currents and waves that could be between 9 and 12 feet high. The worst part of this is that, yes, there could even be some coastal flooding on the big island of Maui and Waikiki Beach. The worst of the storm is expected to be tonight and tomorrow night, with winds that could reach up to 40 miles an hour. And again, this could be an issue for the power grid out there. Now, one thing we were tracking was the actual strength, because it is a Cat 1 now. We are still talking about sustained winds at 85 miles an hour, and we're continuing to watch the track of this because it is going to brush just off to the north of the islands as we are heading through today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then starting to pull out of here by Thursday. So it is going to have impacts, especially in the waters. Not advised to be boating, surfing, you know, whatever people do out there, if you know anyone. This is the spaghetti plot track, and it takes the models and kind of shows you the direction that each model is projecting this storm to go. Notice most of those lines are north of the storm or north of the islands. That's because the consensus or the general trend is that this storm will carry north, with the one outlier moving right over Honolulu. So the trend that we are continuing to track is that no, this is not going to take that outlier path and move south. It will continue to take that northerly track, again, weakening as it does so, but still bringing big impacts there. And Hawaii's been an area not only dealing with volcanic activity a lot recently, but now they're going to have to deal with this. Yeah. I know a lot of surfers in the community out there are probably going to want to ride the waves, but it can be very, very dangerous to do so under these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And also worth mentioning too, even though there will likely not be a direct landfall, as Lisa mentioned, we're still going to be watching, especially the high waves, but also some of that wind associated with that storm. So big impacts Tuesday and Wednesday as the storm gets a little bit closer to Hawaii.
Well, let's take a live look outside back here at home. Now, we are talking about some, stronger winds. Sheboygan County right now is a county where you do not want to swim in. We're talking about high waves and dangerous currents for there today, but we'll continue to watch the lake as we head through the week, because with temperatures warming up, as Steph's been talking about, maybe you want to dip your toes in before the fall weather continues to move back. We'll have a lot more, though, coming back after the break.
back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Well, if you've been joining us for about the last week, you know that Lisa went on an incredible vacation to Alaska, and you've been so gracious to fill us in on all of the really awesome, I mean, we're not talking just like a regular run-of-the-mill vacation. This was actually really educational and just fascinating to me.
And for anyone, you know, who loves the outdoors, who loves the educational experience, highly recommend going to Alaska. You have to go, Steph, with your family. They're going to love it. And when I was there, I saw something really unusual, especially for this time of year, the change of leaves.
Oh, interesting.
That's getting us thinking of fall, right? So I was actually at the Native Heritage Museum in Anchorage, and they have this beautiful path that takes you through the native exhibits. But notice the colors. Not only on the left side there are you seeing the change of colors, but also on the right picture, the leaves are already falling on the ground. Wow. So trees in Alaska are starting to change, even the birch trees. Of course, it's something that we're watching even in areas like Fairbanks. Birch and aspen trees actually are usually among the first tree species to allow them to show their different hues. The loss of sunlight triggers chemical changes in the trees, which allows the colors to break down and show pigment upon your eye. We'll gradually be watching this because, of course, we know some of the northern areas see the leaves changing first, then that's going to eventually spread into Canada, other parts of North America by the end of September. Higher elevations in the Rocky Mountains and communities, they'll see it next, and then that will start to move into our area. So that's going to bring us to our average peak colors for fall foliage. If you're going to be getting in the mindset of that, we are looking here locally to see our peak colors, at least for our leaves, in the middle of October and late October. As we are continuing, though, to think about leaves, you might be thinking about fall. Yes. It's one of my favorite times of year, especially when we don't have heavy rain or storms where all the leaves come down, but just being able to get outside, enjoy the crisp air. Not so much the mosquitoes, you know, they'll eventually go away. But
they've already gotten a whole lot better, in my opinion, compared to the last couple of weeks. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, technically, meteorological fall has begun. Remember, we do things just a little bit differently. It's just easier for stat keeping, but meteorological fall for us is September, October, November. It clearly was a chilly start to the month. But here's a look at the fall outlook. Once again, this is from the Climate Prediction Center. So a lot of times when you're watching us during a normal FOX6 weather broadcast, we'll show a 6 to 10 day outlook or an 8 to 14 day outlook. I just showed that during the regional forecast, but this is more of a 3-month outlook. So for fall, September, October, November. Now you can see based on what the Climate Prediction Center is showing on this map, a good chunk of the country looking at some warmer than average temperatures. Now there are some spots, the Northeast in particular, as well as the Southwest in parts of Florida, as well as parts of the southern plains like Texas, looking a little bit more likely to have some more significant warmer than average temperatures. But even here locally towards the upper plains, we'll have you know, a couple of, warmer than average days. Now, when it comes to precipitation, you can tell that Milwaukee is actually in an equal chance. So we could have some wetter days, we could have some drier days. But notice where the above average warmth is expected, they're also expecting drier conditions over the next 3 months. Now, again, this is just an outlook. It's not always 100% accurate. We hope that it's not as dry down towards the south, but this does give a pretty good indication on trends and what is potentially happening here in the next couple of months. Yeah, and I think you made a good point that even though when we look at these graphs, they're not necessarily true every single day. So just because it says warmer doesn't mean you're not going to have cooler days. It's just we're looking at having the potential or the probability of having more warmer days than where we typically should be. And this, of course, can impact things like flooding in areas. It can impact wildfires to be more prominent in certain zones, especially if they're under drought conditions and are having drier and hotter conditions. So impacting agriculture, impacting bugs. So all these things we look at for trends, and we're continuing to monitor to be a step ahead of the game to let you know what can come
for the upcoming season.
There you go, and crucial for farmers too. I mean, this is such an important time for crops, so something that I know they look at very closely.
They do.
Okay, let's take a live look outside right now. Beautiful Milwaukee, plenty of sunshine out there. Going to be a gorgeous day across the state. We have a little bit more coming up on Wisconsin Weather Experts, including a pretty awesome time lapse of the full moon that we just saw late last night and this morning. Stick around. Everybody to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Pretty awesome full moon we just experienced, and we got some really great pictures and even a video too.
We did, and if you missed it, it was last night, and this month the moon, it's called the harvest moon, also known as the corn moon. So let's take a look at our graphics, because we had our Fox 6 photojournalist, Jeff Frings, who's just in here showing us and talking about this video. It looks, I mean, I told him, I said, it looks fake, doesn't it? It just doesn't even look real. We did have this beautiful full moon that stretched across the sky if you looked east, and we actually had another viewer send in this photo. This is from Donnie in Neosho of the full harvest moon too. Now, something cool about this, the moon actually, while it was a full moon, it's called the corn moon or harvest moon because typically in North America this time of year is when they start to harvest the crops and corn. But not only was it a full moon for us, take a look at this shot from yesterday. This is Cape Town, South Africa. Not only did they have a full moon, they had a rare lunar eclipse. So this is when the Earth goes in between the sun and the moon, so the Earth's shadow is casted upon the moon, giving it that reddish hue, so it's not really illuminated. It was not something you could see here locally, but it was something that you could see in parts of Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. I will say, if you missed the cool moon last night, you can see it tonight as well. It'll appear almost as full for September 8th. And Steph, you know, what do you think the viewing conditions are looking like? I mean, do we seem to have a good forecast for it?
Oh yeah, more clear skies for tonight. I think we could have a couple more clouds by morning, but no problem at all here locally. Yeah, the moon still appears full actually a couple days before and a couple days after. So we do have a couple more viewing opportunities. But going back to that time-lapse video, that's just so incredible. Remember, during a lot of these events, this is that moon illusion is what they call it, which is why it appears red and why it appears so big. Remember, that's just an illusion. The moon did not grow during this event, during this full moon, but it's just so incredible.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic shot.
I agree. Well, we're going to take things from our vantage point at the ground to heading up to space in the sky. Today is a day where we are expecting SpaceX to launch their, now this pronunciation of this is,
tricky one.
How would you say this?
Nusantara Lima? Okay.
There we go. Mission
I like it.
into the transfer orbit close to Earth. It's actually a major step into Indonesia's satellite infrastructure. This will be happening from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The window launch is at 7:02 tonight. So we'll hopefully pray for them that they'll have a successful takeoff.
Yeah, hopefully the weather cooperates.
I know. We're going to take a look also at space, last but not least, for something a little different. We're talking about stars, as thousands of newborn stars have sparkled in the latest images from NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. Again, this looks fake too, right? But it's gorgeous. So we're going to hope that we'll maybe be able to see that in your dreams, maybe painted on your wall. You won't see it through your small telescope, but we do thank NASA for showing us what it might actually look like up in space, where a